It was through motherhood that the Lord revealed himself to me, changing my life and drawing me into a deeper walk with him. Being a mom is no easy task. It can make us question every decision that we make, and sometimes all the responsibilities can even cause us to lose our way. Hi, I'm Michelle Flanagan, your host of the Biblical Mom-alogue podcast. I've been a wife to my husband Dave for 28 years, and I'm a mother to 3 sons, one adult, and twins who are smack dab in the middle of their teen years. I've been overwhelmed, discouraged, overjoyed, scared, intimidated, and just about every emotion you can name during my time as a mother. We need encouragement as mothers, am I right? And this is just the place you'll find it, through stories and testimonies from mothers just like you. They have encountered Jesus through motherhood in a powerful way, and they want you to know that you can too. 1 Thessalonians 5:11 says, "Therefore, encourage one another and build one another up, just as you are doing." Hebrews 10:24 and 25 also reminds us to spur one another on to loving good deeds and to encourage one another. I am so glad you've joined us today, and I pray that you will find encouragement and a renewed faith in Christ as you care for your children. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Biblical Mom-alogue podcast. My name is Michelle Flanagan, and I am so glad you're here. If this is your first time with us, this is where you will hear stories of moms who've encountered God through motherhood. And today I have with me Lori Bodkin. Hi, Lori.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
I'm so excited that you're here because Lori is a life mentor and certified Christian counselor. She encourages, equips, and empowers women to take control of their busy, overwhelmed lives so they can experience the joy and freedom God intended. She still works a regular day job as a training specialist, writing web-based workshops, and for the heavy truck industry. Hosting her mentoring workshops allows her to be genuinely creative while providing encouragement and leadership for women in a fun, engaging way. Lori is coming up on a wedding anniversary. On Valentine's Day, she and her husband Bob will be married 26 years. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, I'm a hopeless romantic.
Yeah, I love that. They have 2 children, Corey, who's 24, and Alyssa, who is 20. She is also a certified Christian counselor and loves being in a front row, having a front row seat to work with God in healing and restoring love and joy in women and couples. She
Yes.
loves making a difference every day. When she has free time, Lori enjoys baking, scrapbooking, reading, watching Hallmark movies, and enjoying a cup of coffee and good conversation with her girlfriends. I can echo all of those sentiments.
Yay.
Yay. Except scrapbooking. I'm not the best at that, but the Hallmark and the baking, oh yes. And Hallmark while baking. That's
Oh, right.
great.
It's the best combination, really.
Yes, it is. And thanks to technology, you can just pop in your headphones and prop your phone up and away we go, right?
That's right. I love it. And because I'm a hopeless romantic, it just all fits together. So the scrapbooking piece is kind of taken a little bit of a back seat being a busy mom, which I know you can relate to.
Yes.
We don't always get to do all of the things that we like to do, but I am in a stage of life now where I'm learning to create some space for myself again. So I'm
Good.
excited about it.
Oh, so you mean that we actually do get there, we make it to a place where we can do some things
Yes.
for ourselves?
Yes, Michelle, there is hope for you yet.
Yeah. Woohoo! If I ever make it out of hockey season, right?
Right. Oh, and hockey is a long season, so
It
I
is.
understand.
It
Yes.
is. And I think that gives a lot of hope to the moms who are listening, especially those of you who have little ones.
Oh, definitely.
You will make it to where Lori is with a 24 and 20-year-old and be looking at creating life for yourself.
Indeed. It sometimes feels like The season that you're in will never change, but I just want to reassure you that it does change. And then sometimes you look back and wish it hadn't.
Yeah.
So we have all kinds of emotions as moms about our kids and the stages that they're in and where we fit with all of that. So yes, there is hope and lots of encouragement.
That is very helpful, especially for a mom who's in the midst of the teen years.
Indeed. You think the terrible twos and the toddler age is really a struggle until you get to the teen years and you're like, wow, that was really easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like that it goes from keeping them alive to
Mm,
the mental, like, you
yes.
go through that mental um strain where you're worrying about all these different things and making sure that they're all of those needs are met emotionally and physically.
Yes.
So, yeah, there's a lot of transitioning in parenting, which
There
is
is a lot. I
which
think
is
you forget.
yes. Yeah, you do. And I think that it leads us into our topic today, which I'm so glad that you are willing to share about this.
Of
That is
course.
about transitioning from your kids graduating and leaving the house to adulthood. Like, what does that period look like for you as a mom? I'm so
Right.
excited to hear what you have to say.
Well, when we were talking a little bit earlier, I think it's just, and you can wrap it up into this phrase, I, as much as they are learning to launch, right? And so as a mom, I'm learning right along with my adult children, what does it look like to mother them at this stage in life when they are adults and theoretically can do everything on their own, right? Do we
Yeah.
trust them to be able to do it? And what does that look like? And how do we prepare them? And how do we prepare ourselves? So there's a lot of things that I'm still learning, as a mom of young adults. But hopefully I can share some things or some wisdom with you and the listeners that might help somebody else who's in this stage. Or if you're not quite there yet, you can set yourself up for success.
Yes. I'm anxious to hear that, and just like how the Lord is meeting you in
Yes.
that this new space. What kind of things is God showing you? And because it does sound scary, like, we do all this work to get them through school, and graduation is such a big deal from high school,
Right.
and then it's like, well, okay, good luck. Like,
I know. There's no instruction manual, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it is a challenge. I laugh because I was a mentor mom years ago for MOPS, mothers of preschoolers,
Yes.
and I was a mother of a preschooler for a while myself. And then I stayed in and I mentored moms because that group meant so much to me in that season of life when my daughter was very young, before she was in kindergarten. We had just moved to the area. I didn't know anybody. So I was able to connect with other moms who had kids in the same age and season that we were in. And as I became a mentor, I just remember so many moms when kids are little and you're struggling and it's just hard because
It is.
the toddler years are so busy. A lot of moms would be like, "Does it get any easier?" And so I would always laugh because I don't know that it got easier as my kids get older. And even now as adults, I don't know that I would call it easier. It's different. And so, little people, little problems, right? Bigger
Mhm.
people can have bigger problems. And so I think you just learn to ebb and flow with whatever season you're in and understand that when they're little, they are physically dependent on you.
Mhm.
But as they get older, and you already mentioned this, Michelle, your kids need you so much more mentally and emotionally
Yes.
as they get older, which you think sounds easier, but it's more exhausting, I think. I mean, I don't not miss, or how do I say that? I don't miss the sleepless nights. However, I still have sleepless nights. It just is different
Mm.
because I might be worried. And that's where God really meets me sometimes, is in that place where I feel like it's out of my control because they're old enough to make all their own decisions. And I really have to trust that not only am I a child of God, but they are also a child of God, and He's got them too. And so releasing that control and letting go and trying not to be anxious, that's that's a real struggle, I think, sometimes. And it depends on the scenario. But if you really truly trust God with your life and trust Him with your children, He will take care of them. It doesn't mean they won't have mistakes. It doesn't mean there won't be problems. My prayer sometimes is, Lord, don't let them fall too far or too fast,
Mm,
because we know we learned from our mistakes.
yes.
Our children will also have failures and mistakes and life lessons, important ones that they need to learn because of it. It's just hard to watch it play out in front of you,
Yes.
you know?
Yes,
Like,
it is.
gosh, can I not have a front row seat to that? But but they still need you. And there's such a fine line and balance there. Oh my goodness. So we'll touch base on that in just a minute. But what do you think is your biggest struggle right now? Because I know you have a son who's getting ready to launch too.
Yes, I have a 19-year-old who is living at home and going to college in the skilled trades, and
Yes.
we're so proud of him. He's doing amazing. So he'll do school for 2 years, and then he'll be able to, get a job. And um, it's so hard for me to revert to just the things that we did when he was in high school,
Oh, yeah.
and just, where are you going? What You're still on our Life 360, those
Yes.
kind of things. But does he really doesn't have to be, because he's an adult, right? And
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
what extent do I question him about his life, and without being overbearing, because
Mhm.
it's really, most of the time I'm just trying to make conversation and find out, like, how is he doing?
Hey, what are you
How
doing?
is
How's your life going? Yeah,
Yes.
right.
And it's not mom prying, but
Right.
it can easily
It
come off
sounds
that
like
way.
it. Yes.
So I
Yeah.
say that's my biggest thing, is I look to the future, where I have to think, okay, he's not going to live in our house probably for very
Mhm.
much longer. Once he's out there, be able to get a job in his own place, he'll do it,
Right.
because he's very independent. And so there's a lot I wouldn't know if he wasn't here, right?
So
So,
that you said exactly what I was going to tell you. And
okay.
actually, it was another dear mom friend of mine who reminded me of that very same thing. So for me, our son is still living with us right now while he's working, and he's helping run our family business. But he's getting ready to step out and get his own place and things like that. My daughter goes to Cleveland State University, so she stays in Cleveland. She has her own apartment now this year with a roommate.
That's
And
cool.
so she's actually away from the house. So we have kind of a balance of both, right? Um, it I will say this. While we do have the ability to look at where they're located on our phone, like the Life 360 or whatever, I try really hard not to do that. I never really got attached or started doing that even when they were younger in high school and driving. Um, it just wasn't really on my radar. I trusted my children to tell me where they were going. And
Hmm.
if they ever changed plans, to let me know. Just let
Hmm.
me know where you're going to be. And I have to say they were very good about it. So I trusted them. Now, it is funny because I will oftentimes just peek.
Yeah.
If it's been a long time or somebody hasn't checked in, I might
Yeah.
peek.
Yes.
Um, but as adults, and if they're living out on their own, they're not going to tell us where they're
No.
going all the time. So, like my
No.
daughter, who's at college, she doesn't tell me every time she goes to Target or, she's going to dinner with her
Right.
friends.
Right.
And it's okay. I want to trust that she can make those good decisions on her own, right?
Mhm.
And the same thing for my son. Even though he's staying here, I trust that if he's going to be out or doing things, that he'll just give me an idea. Mom, I'm going to be home tonight, or I'll be home around this time. Have to trust that. And I'll be honest, I have learned to be okay with that. Pray about it if I feel uncomfortable for whatever reason, and go to bed if he's not home when I'm going to bed.
Mhm.
Sometimes they come home later than we go to bed, and that's okay because they would do that in their own apartment anyway, right?
Yes.
So we
Yes.
try to find a good balance of not, like you said, not prying into their lives, but just asking out of courtesy. And I think
Yes.
that's the piece that helps them not feel invaded.
Mhm.
You know, I just want to know, because you're still living here, out of courtesy, when are we locking the doors?
Yeah.
Or when are we shutting things down at the house? Are you going to be out late? Okay, great. We'll leave the door open until you get home, or use your key or whatever. Um, so
That's
it's
good.
just a good open communication conversation with your children to say, listen, I identify that you are an adult and you can make whatever decisions you want out of courtesy because you're living here.
Mhm.
We just need to know kind of a time frame of what's happening. We don't need to know all the details, but then tell them it's okay for you to make those decisions. We just kind of need to know when you're coming and going, because
Mhm.
it's a safety issue, right? We want to lock the
Yes.
house up for the night. So it takes the personal piece out of it and it makes it more of a safety thing, and safety for them,
Yes.
because if anything changes, you do want to kind of be aware, right? So,
Yes.
I mean, I'm not going to hit the panic button
Yeah.
if you're not home right at midnight when you said you would be home.
Right.
And I'm
Those
gonna
things
try to
happen.
probably go to bed. Yeah,
Yes.
right. So, yeah, it's just learning to practice it. You'll get better and you'll feel better the more often you try to let them have that space and freedom, and you try to really lean in and trust that God's got them and He'll take care of them.
That's good. That's so helpful. As you were talking, I was thinking through and I'm like, okay, we do that.
Good.
We do this. Like we'll just kind of say, hey, uh, you know, we're gonna just lock the door.
Yeah,
Alarm's not set, door's locked, or
right.
whatever we decision we make there, we'll just send a text and let him know so that when he comes in, knows
He's
he's
not
got to unlock the
surprised.
door,
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
right.
But there have been some nights where I'm like, I was asleep for a couple hours before
Yeah.
before you
And
even
that's
came in.
okay. That's a good thing. That means that you have peace, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
when you have peace about your children, no matter where they are, you can sleep well
that's
because
right.
God's got them and you don't have to worry.
Well, and I think too, like I forget, I'll start to kind of panic or worry about something, and I think, you know what? God gave us everything we needed to raise him, and
Hmm.
now we have to trust that he is going to use those things that we taught him and
Yes,
also seek the Lord himself, because that
right,
was the environment we have always tried to create for the boys, is just like, you need to talk to the Lord about this. You need to pray about this.
right. Just
Read your
reminding
Bible
them.
and see what the Lord shows you, because it's your walk with God. And so,
Right.
um, those sometimes I feel like the Lord just gently reminds me of that, like, you know, you gave him everything he's needed.
They have the
Now it's up to
foundation.
him.
Yes.
So,
And that is hard. I think that's something that I've been, excuse me, struggling with a little bit, is releasing my children's faith to
yes,
them.
that's a
I
big
have
thing.
expectations of what I want for them, right? But I've been reminded, because, the Holy Spirit nudges us, that my faith was not where I am today at their age.
Yes,
I
it's a good
remember
point.
distinctly being in a college class where we were in a discussion and the teacher's aide was really probing questions about even the validity and existence of God. And I thought, what do I even believe? That was
Mhm.
when I was like 20 years old. And
Yeah.
so I'm in a very, very different place now, but I have to give my children grace because
Mhm.
they're also learning and questioning and seeking God in what they do. And what
Yes.
does that look like?
Yeah.
I have to remind myself, just like you, we did provide a good foundation. They do know who God is and they know how to access him. So they have the tools that they need. And
Mm-hmm.
then, circumstances will allow them to be nudged to seek that or come back to that. And they may question, you know,
Yes.
it's not a bad thing. I think sometimes when we even as adults question, it allows us to go deeper, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So, we try this is funny to me. You know how like the whole helicopter parenting thing was a big to do for a while?
Yes.
Well, now, and I don't know if you've heard this, there's a couple phrases that parenting style have changed, and we're now either lawnmower or snowplow parents, where we go in front and we try to clear the way for our children so they don't fall, they don't make mistakes, they don't fail, life is
Yes.
good. And we're really setting them up for failure because we're not helping them understand how to pick themselves back up when they fall.
Mm-hmm.
And so while we want to make life easy, we're making it a little bit harder because they're not learning good problem solving skills. They're not learning, like, if things don't go their way and they're disappointed, how they deal with that disappointment. So there's a lot of emotional things that our kids aren't
Mm-hmm.
really learning that, catching up. So when they do launch into young adulthood, they're having to learn those like really fast
Yes.
and they don't like it, you know? Um,
It's hard.
so it is hard, and it's hard to watch them because you're like, "Oh, yeah, that's okay, you're fine, you're gonna
Yes.
be okay." But in the meantime, they're like they probably feel like life is over, right? And
Yeah,
and
they
probably
do.
not, but to
Yeah.
them, it feels very extreme, right?
Mhm.
So, to prepare your kids to launch, I think one of the things that I see a lot in women that I counsel and in my mom friends and just the circle that we were in for a while too. Everybody's trying to do their best to prepare their kids. And yet, as moms, we hang on to our babies, right? Because
Yes.
they're babies and we love them. But we have to make sure our job as a mother is to raise our children to be able to be good citizens in this world, right?
Yes.
To be able to go out and be able to survive and potentially maybe raise their own families,
Yes. At some
So,
point, they have to be able to make it without us.
yes. And that's a good thing. I think so many moms get hung up on feeling like, well, one, they're trying to hang on to their babies and keep them home.
Mhm.
If your kids want to go, let them go, right? I think you will create a bad relationship or relationship with lots of resistance if you keep clinging
Mhm.
and not letting, releasing. But I think a lot of moms feel like they're failures, you know, when their kids aren't doing what they think they should be doing, or when they're not launching in the way they think they should be launching. But we can't own that. It's our job to raise them and feel like we've done the best job that we could with what we knew at the time. And then to just continue to be a support system for them, you
Oh,
know?
yes. I like what you said about not being so clingy and just letting them make their own mistakes
Mm-hmm.
because like you said, there's just a whole bunch of parents out there that don't want their kids to make any mistakes at all.
Right.
And how do we learn unless we make mistakes? And
Well,
I mean, look at and then when you were talking about your own faith and having to figure that out for yourself, I was thinking to myself, well, when I was in college, I didn't, I was like your daughter. I didn't tell my parents every time I went to get ice cream or
right.
go get dinner or, well, leave campus for something.
Sure.
They didn't really need to know that. They just needed to
Right.
know I was okay. And we called each other a couple times a week and I went home on the weekends, that kind of thing. So
Right. And it
it's
worked.
good to remember what did
Excuse me.
I go through, and what helped me when I was that
Yes.
age, and how did I feel if my parents were too, would have been too, overly involved kind of thing. So that's really good to hear you say that because it is good to look back and say, well, where was I at their age? And
Right.
sometimes that's why people hover, I think, is because they don't like where they were. But at the same
Yes.
time, it's they still have to learn it for themselves at some point. I mean, we can't always be there to catch them every time they make a decision that's not the best.
Right. Yeah, and so it is very true. A lot of people will look back at their own lives and reflect and think, well, I don't want them to make the same mistakes I did, and so that sometimes they kind of step ahead to try to prevent that from happening. The other thing, and it kind of hit me when you were talking about how so many parents, and just reiterating how many parents try to go ahead of their kids because they don't want them to make mistakes or fall or fail. A lot of that comes from our own woundedness in
Mhm.
perfectionism.
That's true.
And, you know, everybody's a winner, right? So we want everybody to be successful. We want our children to be successful at what cost?
Mhm.
And so if our kids aren't successful, I think people think that's a reflection of that on them.
Mhm.
And while it may be a reflection on your parenting, it's not a direct reflection on you being a bad person because your child didn't get first place or your child didn't get an A.
Right.
We forget, but we own that as a mom, I think
Mhm.
sometimes we think that's our failure and it's not. And so God has taught me a lot through my children in learning to release, if their study habits weren't what I thought they should be, they have to figure out their own system. They aren't me. And
Yes.
so I think that's where we as moms step in a little too much. I can attest my first child, my son, I would help him if he had projects and he needed some assistance. I would help him and it would be, oh, just right when he turned it in, right? My daughter, she would not want any of my help. And I was like, what are you talking about? You're gonna leave that pencil mark on there. Erase that on your poster before you turn that in. She was totally fine with that. And it was imperfect. And guess what? Oh, she got an A too. So, there were things in my children that I learned that you just have to let them be and do who God intended them to be and do and be okay with it.
Yeah. That's experiencing that right now just with school and having
Mhm.
teenagers in the
Oh,
house
yes.
still, and one who does all the things, just make sure the work is done, and the other one just has his own system,
Yeah.
just and reasons why this wasn't done or that wasn't done, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh no, oh no, I just like I feel myself starting to panic. And then the other day he said to me, Mom, it really is up to me to get this work done.
Oh, bingo
And I
moment,
was like,
mom.
okay. And it was, the funny thing is, I had told him that I had been praying for him the day before, and I heard the Lord say to me, let him fail.
Mm,
Let him fail. And I went, what?
right?
Nobody wants that, God. And I just kept hearing that over and over. The more questions I asked God, the more I heard that. And then the very next day, my own son said to me, it really is up to me to get this done. And I thought, you know what? He is so right. Like,
Mhm.
obviously, my husband brought up the good point that it's our responsibility to make sure that you get to that place eventually, that you do,
Yes.
because we know what comes after you get out of high school,
Right,
and
exactly.
we know what you need to just succeed in some way in life. So we would be wrong not to give you reminders and those
Right,
kind of things.
and
But
parental guidance, that's what you're
yes,
supposed to do,
yes.
exactly.
So we are going to ask you, but ultimately, he's absolutely right. And like, he took me to task on that one, because I thought, almost 15 years old, he's really no dummy. He
Yeah.
knows. He just made a decision to do whatever. And so we have to let the chips fall where they fall.
Well,
So,
the funny thing about that is that as they recognize where their responsibility does lie, they really do know
yes.
what they need to be responsible for. And oftentimes that's where dissension comes into play in relationships too, is when as moms, we want them to do well. We know cause and effect, right? Um, but it comes out and sounds like nagging.
Yes.
And then our children resent us because we're nagging.
Yeah.
So if they're aware of the responsibilities and you've told them, well, step back.
That's all we can do, right?
Yeah.
And that's so hard, isn't it? Because when
It's
they're
super
little,
hard.
you
Yeah.
just you can keep going and almost do the things for them.
Oh, yeah. And oftentimes we are all guilty of doing that, right? Because
Yes.
we don't want to
No,
wait for
I've
them to
done it.
figure it out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because you get used to that in your own life, around the house, or if you
Mhm.
work, you're used to knowing how to get the things done, and it's just so easy to translate that into being a parent, but it's they are there to remind us, I think, that we don't have control over the things we think we do.
It's so true. I always like to say God has a really big sense of humor.
Yes.
And so when those moments come like you just had, it's like, "Oh, thanks for that. That's pretty funny."
Yeah, okay, you
And
got
so,
me.
yeah, it was a gentle reminder, so at least you heard it, and
Yes.
now he confirmed it, and you can walk that out, but
Yes.
it takes practice,
Yes.
anything that we try to do or change like that, it just takes practice. It's not going to be perfect, and it's gonna feel weird, and you're gonna be super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You just have to keep trying.
Yes, and it's I think that what my uh, son said translates into what his older brother's going through. It's
Yeah.
just, like there's going to be times where we have to just let him fail. I mean, he's extremely responsible and honestly very good at communicating. He's doing
Good.
this college thing great and we're so proud. But it's just that, we know that at some point he won't be living here anymore and we do have
Right.
to transition. So this has been so helpful to me just to
Yes,
know that, we have to just trust them to the Lord.
absolutely. The other thing that I recommend, um, I saw this, I don't know, there's been a while somewhere on social media, but I was starting to do these things before I saw this, but there's like a list of the top like 10 things your kids should know how to do before they leave the house. And so we had fun with the
Good.
kids, and I was like, hey, can you check all these things off? How are we doing as parents, right? Um, but the biggest things that I feel like, and I just actually had this conversation with my kids over the weekend, and one of them is they were helping prepare a meal. And I said, well, I've really tried to help you integrate you both in the kitchen as you were growing up. So you would know how to cook things for yourself or you would be comfortable with that. And my
Yes.
son said, Mom, you didn't try, you did. And I thought,
Oh,
"Oh, thank
that's
you.
so
That
cool.
felt so good."
Yes.
But one of the so cooking, obviously, because you want your kids
Yes.
to be able to make more than just ramen noodles.
Yeah.
So, um, but laundry is a big one.
Yes. We
And
are big on
so,
that.
yes, when we moved into the house that we're in now about 9 years ago, and so my daughter was 11. I just remember that. And at that time, we decided everyone was going to be responsible for their own laundry.
Mhm.
And so I taught everyone how to do laundry, and you can separate it or not separate it. I had some of those shout color catchers, and now I don't even have them. They just do whatever they decide.
That's
But
right.
I had some mom guilt about it. When my daughter was in high school, she played soccer. She was very active. She was on lots of teams. And anyway, so, on back to back nights, I had reminded her, remember, you're going to have to wash your uniform, things like that. And she forgot one time. And she, girls, thankfully they have body spray and things
Yeah.
like that they can use. But no, she would wash her uniform, even it was the only thing she threw in the laundry. And I
Yes.
had mom guilt about that, like, oh my gosh, my daughter's washing her own uniform. And then I thought, no, she is learning a valuable lesson, how to
Yes.
take care of herself and the things that she needs when she needs them. And so I had to step back and like give myself a little mom check, because it's like she's got this. It's okay. You don't have to step in, you
Yeah.
know? But
Yes.
we've all been doing our laundry. And so I hear so many moms when their kids come home from college, they're like, oh, I do their laundry and all that. I think it's our need to be needed.
Yes, it is. And that's something that with the laundry, I can really relate to you. We
Yeah.
had so many times a couple years ago where our boys were like, well, these aren't my pants and this sock is
Yeah.
his and you guys put this shirt in the wrong room. And one day my husband and I looked at each other and we were like, why are we doing their laundry?
Right.
This is insane.
Yeah.
This is not up to us. They are old enough. They need to do their own. So we bought everybody their own hamper and we were
Yep.
like, here you go. Your laundry is your responsibility. If you don't have clothes, it's because you didn't wash them. And
Yes.
if you will bring it down. We both work from home and we have a shared office space in our basement
Hmm.
near where the laundry is. And
Sure.
we told them, if you just let us know or bring it down, we're happy to wash it, put it in the dryer, and put it back in your bin for you. But you got to ask. We're not just going to do it. You
Yeah.
have to ask. And so if they forgot to do it in the evening, sometimes they'll ask us before school, hey, and they'll bring it down and they'll say, can you
Yeah.
please help with this today? Can you just throw it in the washer
Sure.
for
And you
me?
don't mind helping,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Yeah.
sure, I'll help. I don't mind that, but getting it folded and put away or whatever, I'm just gonna put it back in your basket. So
Yeah.
the rest is up to
That's up
you.
to
But
you.
that
Yeah.
has been one of the most freeing things ever.
Yes.
Your
Thank you.
clothes, your responsibility. It's
Hmm.
great. And we don't
I,
like we do towels, but in
yeah,
our
we do.
own.
Yeah, we do that
But
too. Um, it's so funny. I'm so proud of you because it is really freeing and life
yes.
changing. And I have some moms who just cannot let go. And so, that's where, from a counseling standpoint, I'm like, oh, they have some other things that are just causing them to hang on to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really is just a need to be needed. And when you can release some of those things that could be and should be their responsibility, especially as an adult, they have to be able to do their own laundry, right?
Yes.
And if they're going to go off to college, they need to know how to do laundry away at college too. It's really not a reflection of your integrity, character, any of that. You know what I mean? Or who you are as a mom.
Yeah.
You're setting your kids up for success by teaching them life skills. The other big thing, and there was several things on this list, like, how to sew a button, how to, different things like that. But the other big thing was finances. I think
Oh,
this
that's good.
generation talks about finances much more than like our parents did.
Yes.
That was a lot of things my parents just, you didn't talk about your finances. And my parents did good to teach me to save and things like that, but I really didn't know budgeting. I didn't know anything like that.
Well, me neither.
So sit down with your children and talk about, if they don't have a checking and a savings account yet, make sure they do before they go off to college. And sit down and talk about what does it look like if they have a job, how much should they be saving? How much should they budget for groceries? I mean, heck, I don't even know how much to budget for groceries
I
anymore.
know. It
It's so
varies week to
crazy.
week, right?
It
And
is.
everything keeps going up so much.
Yes,
Golly.
I just came from the grocery earlier today, this morning, and I thought, I'm still waiting for 99-cent bread. I'm sorry.
Right. No, it's so I I thought yesterday well, I'll buy some pop because
Yeah.
our football teams, our family has a rivalry. A couple
Oh,
of them are
fun.
Cowboys fans and then my oldest son and I are Packers fan.
Oh
And
boy.
I think one of my twins is a Packers fan as well because he was all about that. But so it's the rivalry game, and I thought I'll buy some pop. I saw the price. I
Right.
went, oh my goodness,
For
maybe
a
not.
pop. I know.
It's
Crazy.
crazy.
But our kids don't really know the price or value of things because they don't
Yes.
typically do the grocery shopping, right? They
Yeah.
might come with you, but they're not looking at the price tag. They're looking at the food item they want you to buy for them. So it's really helpful to sit down with your kids and just talk about budgeting and what does that look like. If you want to do things with your friends while you're at college, or if you are just getting a job and learning to be an adult and not even in college, what does it look like to save your money or to spend? They forget about things like utilities. They
Yeah.
don't have to pay electric bills and
Yes.
water bills like we do. So just having a conversation about those adult things with your children so they're aware. They may not have to do any of that right away, but they need an awareness. And then it kind of opens the door for you to have a really transparent conversation with them about money as they start earning money and what to do with it. I
Yes.
think so many kids don't have those conversations and they are very irresponsible with their money because they're like, "Hey, I got $50, let's go party,"
Yeah.
or "I want to buy this or that." That's great. And so many of them get caught up in the credit card deal because this
Yes.
all over college. And if it's not all over college, it's in our mailbox for them. I mean, I remember getting a million offers to sign up for credit cards, and now the credit card interest rates are ridiculous.
Yes.
But they get so caught up in want it now because our society is such a quick, instant society that the
Mhm.
credit card is very attracted to them. And if they don't know the dangers that come along with credit card debt and they can't be responsible because nobody's really talked to them about how it really works, you're setting them up for failure. So I think having money conversations with your children before they get out of the house and they're on their own is so important, because who else is going to talk to them about money?
Yeah.
You know, all of
Yes.
those things are really kind of in our wheelhouse and our responsibility to set them up for success. And that's how you feel a success as a parent. If you've done your job to prepare them and let them go, because God says we all have free will, right? So
Yes.
they are going to make choices that maybe you don't like, but there's a reward or a consequence with every one of our choices, even for us as adults today. So we have
Mhm.
to trust that we've done our best to set them up and then let God take it from here. That's really how I see it. Sometimes on a day-to-day basis, I'm like, all right, God, you've got them. And then there's other days that I'm praying all day long. So, it just depends on what's going on.
I love what you said, though. We've done our best to set them up and let God
Yes.
take it from here. That's
Yes.
good.
Because
Um,
he gifted our children to us, and they're ours to raise and prepare for what he has next for them.
yeah,
And what an
that's good.
exciting opportunity to watch them walk into their purpose. I mean, honestly,
It's really an honor to be a part of it because,
truly it
we
is.
look at it in all the frustrations and things that we
Yes.
do go through as parents. I mean, our parents went through that with
Yes.
us in some
Certainly
way.
they did.
I'm
Yes.
sure. I know mine did.
Yes. And they'll
But
remind us of it sometimes,
and
don't they?
I'm sure there are decisions that I made that they thought, "Oh dear."
Hmm.
Oh my, she has
Yep.
no idea what she's
Just
doing, even though she thinks
just
she
like
does.
that.
They had to. So really, it makes you really appreciate your parents, and
Indeed it
also
does.
just think, yeah, knowing that you get to have a front row seat to what God is going to do in their life. It really is an honor and a privilege to have that gift. Like you said, they are a gift to us. So that's so good. I feel so encouraged today.
Hey, I'm so glad. It's hard. It just made me think, you saying those things just made me think. I remembered seeing this saying one time, motherhood is like watching your heart walk around on the outside. And it's so true because, we carried those children inside our bodies while they grew for 9 months. That's a long time,
It
when you think
is.
about your kids in their growing years. And so there always will be a part of us that's in them and vice versa, them in us. And so the best thing you can do is keep good communication with your children, be open and honest with them, and love them. Love them through their mistakes and love them through their successes and love them no matter what.
That's great. Thank you. I really
Yes.
appreciate you coming and sharing with us today.
Oh, I'm so glad I could. Thank you for asking, Michelle.
And if for anyone who's listening, if you want to connect with Lori, I will have all of her information in the description box so you can find her on social media and her
Yes.
website. And unless you have anything to add, that is all that I had for today.
I think that I just want to encourage all of the moms that are listening that you are doing your best, and your best is always enough.
That is so good. Thank you.
Yes, for sure. It's been my pleasure, truly, Michelle.
All right. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Biblical Mom-alogue podcast. I pray today's message gave you hope that you can come to Jesus no matter where you are as a mother and put your faith in Him. For more great content, please follow me on Instagram at michelle.flanagan, on Facebook at Hope for the Journey, and on my website at michelleflanagan.com. If you go to the resources page, I would love for you to access some free resources there to encourage you and give you more hope. Have a great day.